f of t equals negative 3 times the cosine of pi over 4t plus pi over 2 plus 2. Now it's going to mimic a cosine function. Okay, so a cosine function typically starts at its highest point, goes down to its lowest point, and then returns to its highest point for one full cycle. The fact that I have a negative 3 for A means the amplitude is going to be 3, but I'm going to have a reversal. And what that means to me, when I eventually talk about it, my graph is going to start at the lowest point, go up to the highest point, and then return to the lowest point for one full cycle. So that's what I mean by a reversal. The period is still going to be done by doing 2 pi divided by b, which is pi over 4. So if I take 2 pi divided by pi over 4, I get 8. Please make sure you know how to divide your fractions. You know, multiply by the reciprocal is what we do. That would cancel the pi's and end up with 2 times 4, essentially. As far as the phase shift goes, I'm going to do the opposite of c, which is pi over 2, divided by b, which is pi over 4. And if I do that, I do get negative 2. And of course, the phase shift, or sorry, not the phase shift, the vertical shift or the baseline is going to be at y equals 2. So I have these key pieces of information. If you notice here, all these things are in whole units, so I can just basically make a standard graph, just making sure I go far enough left to right to at least get one full period in. So I set up my graph as a typical, x and y axis, seeing here going here. And again, I start with my phase shift and baseline to kind of get a new set of axes. So my phase shift is going to be at negative 2. My baseline is at 2, so that makes my new set of axes follow along here. Now, I mentioned that reversal before because the cosine usually starts up at its highest point. Because I have a reversal, I'm going to start at its lowest point. And the lowest point, because I have an amplitude of 3, should be 3 units below the baseline. So that's the starting point. I know that when I complete one full cycle, which in this case would be moving 8 units to the right, I should return back to this same y value. I also know halfway between the beginning and end, I should be at the highest value here, or on the opposite side of the baseline. And I know that halfway between the highest point and lowest point is where I should be touching the baseline. And that's just from me knowing general ideas of what a cosine graph typically does. The only thing I have to make sure I'm doing here is I do have a different period, and I do have a reversal, so I'm not starting at highest point and ending up at highest point. I'm starting at lowest point. And so one complete period would look like this, and if I continued the pattern on forever and ever, that's what the graph would look like.